Claude's coding benchmarks are impressive on the surface, but when you compare all the models side by side by their actual scores in coding benchmarks, you see something that Anthropic will not tell you. Stick to the end of this video and see whether your attention span is good enough to finish watching this video. Let's get started. Claude 1.0 is quite a scary model in its time, but how good was it? This model is quite bad for today's standards, but there's a benchmark that shows how good the Claude generations of models perform in programming in Python. But this benchmark was not tested on the latest generation of Claude models, after Claude 3.5 Sonnet. But you may be thinking, for the love of God, how did this model perform in this coding benchmark at its time? But there is a problem. I am not only comparing Claude 1.0 alone, but all the first generation of Claude models. But what are these models in particular? For the first generation of Claude models, you have Claude 1.0 itself, Claude Instance 1.0, Claude 1.1, Claude 1.2, Claude Instance 1.2. Over 90% of you guys haven't subscribed. So if you've reached this stage of this video, I know you really enjoyed this video. So please subscribe to support me. So get 100 subscribers or more by the ending of this month. The benchmark I'm talking about is the human eval benchmark. Look at the human eval benchmark for the Claude 1.0 series of models. Claude 1.0 sets the baseline of 50.2%. When Claude Instance 1.0 launched, the performance didn't drop. The score actually edged up to 50.6%. Now watch how these models improve as the architecture matures. Claude Instance 1.1 hit 52.8%. Claude 1.2 followed at 54%. And Claude Instance 1.2 surged all the way to 58.7%. And Claude 1.3 actually got a performance of roughly 60%, which is 59%. So you are probably thinking, why does a 0.4% or a 4% improvement actually matter? It really, really matters. But if you think Claude 1.0 was alright in its performance in the human eval benchmark, you are actually wrong. But why am I saying this? The reason why I'm saying this is the gap in performance between the first generation of Claude models and the second generation of Claude models is very massive that if the second generation of Claude models came right now, Claude 2.0, if it came right now, they'll fearmonger us that, well, Claude's performance is so good that we cannot release this model now. So what is the benchmark performance for Claude 2.0? It is 71.2%. Get it? 71.2%. And this is 20% better than Claude 1.0. But why am I telling you this? This is because we have a recent example of Anthropic glazing their model so hard. And the model they are glazing so hard is Claude Mythos. But why are they glazing Claude Mythos so much like this? This is because, well, in the 3bench verified benchmark, it's got 93.9%. And the previous model that they were comparing it to was Claude Opus 4.6, which is 80.8% in the 3bench verified benchmark. But you see how they are saying that this model is so good that we can't release it. That's a very good proof on why Claude 2.0, was leagues better than Claude 1.0 in the human eval benchmark, which tests how this model writes code in Python. Let's compare all the three generations of Claude models, but they are classified into three groups: Haiku, Sonnet, and Opus, whereby Opus is the best model, Sonnet being the mid-range model, and Haiku being the worst model. So with Claude 3 Haiku, human eval benchmark has got a score of 75.9%. Claude 3 Opus got 84.9%. And the reboot of the Claude 3 generation, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, got 92%, basically crashing this human eval benchmark. So Claude is probably a better coder in Python than you. Claude 3.5 Sonnet, probably, I guess we will never know. But yeah, it's one thing too. I want to glaze the Claude models, but you will see something interesting here. We've seen that the human eval benchmark is basically over, it's crashed. So what do you think these researchers and AI developers will probably think of? Creating another benchmark. And this new benchmark is 3bench verified. From here onwards, I'm comparing the Claude 3 generations of models all the way to Claude Mythos and see how they fare in the 3bench verified benchmark. With Claude 3 Haiku, they got 7.2%, horrifying. Claude 3 Opus, 22.9%, and Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which was the first released version of it, its score was 33.4%. And here is one thing too, which is interesting. The newer version of Claude 3.5 Sonnet got 49% in this benchmark. At that time, it was actually a state-of-the-art benchmark. I'll explain why. But Claude 3.7 Sonnet was even better. like really better. And it got 62.7% in this benchmark. But there is one important thing about Claude 3.7 Sonnet. That was the first thinking model that Anthropic brought. So the score that I showed you right now, 62.7%, is just the model without thinking. But when thinking is turned on, Claude 3.7 Sonnet got 70.3%. Let me talk about the Claude 4 generations of models, because to be frank, most of them are not a step up from Claude 3.7 Sonnet. That shows you how good Claude 3.5 and 3.7 Sonnet was to the industry. So with Claude 4 Opus, it got a score of roughly 72.5%. Claude 4 Sonnet, 72.7%. Claude Opus 4.1, 74.5%. Claude Haiku 4.5, 73.3%. Claude Sonnet 4.5, 77.2%. Claude Opus 4.5, 80.8%. Claude Sonnet 4.6, 79.6%, Claude Opus 4.6, 80.8%, and Claude Opus 4.7, 87.8%, and Claude Mythos 93.9%. So what are the performance gaps between these models? As a statistical guy, you'll know it. See you in the next video. Have a good time.